Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation is Gaudi Cheti Mahalla Paila. Avar Panch Ham ek Jana, Kyon Rakho Kar Bar Mana, Mare Lute Neet Neet, Kis Aage Kari Pukar Jana, Sri Ram Nama Uchar Mana, Aage Jam Dal Bikham Gana Rahao, Usare Madoli Rakhe Dwara Pitar Baithi Sadhana, Amrit Kel Kare Nit Kaman, Avar Lutin So Panch Jana, Tahe Madoli Lutya Dehura, Satan Pakadi Ek Jana, जम डंडा गले संगल पड़या, भाग गए से पंच जना, कामन लोड़े सोना रूपा, मित्र लोड़े न सो खादता, नानक पाप करे तिन कारण, जासी जमपुरे बादता. So this passage, as we can see, is about moderation and the consequences of immoderation, of indulgence of the senses, and the consequences that we have to face as a result. And so the Guru speaks about Avar Panch Ham ek Jana. The enemies are 5 and strong. I am alone. Kyo rakho kar bar mana? How do I protect my household? O my mind, how do I protect my household? Mare hain, loote hain, neet neet. Kis aage kari pukar jana? Mare hain, loote. They plunder and beat me all the time. To whom should I make an appeal? So what is being referred to here as the panch? We know that the senses are collectively referred to as a household that belongs to the mind. Garbar. Kyon rakho garbar mana is the question. How do I protect myself, my sense, from being overwhelmed? And we also know that the senses are constantly assaulted by external stimuli. Mare lute neet neet. In Gurmat terms, what that means is that the senses are by their very nature pleasure-seeking and are averse to pain. So we are pleasure-seeking machines, if you will. And the danger is that this leads to an indulgence, a self-centered addictive behavior, which is dissipating. So what the Guru is saying is, how do I protect myself from becoming narcissistic? And his answer, very straightforward, very powerful, is Sri Ram Nama Uchar Mana. Aage Jamdal Bikham Gana Rahao. Sri Ram Nama Uchar Mana. We've translated this as arouse within yourself the splendorous self through the sound of the sabad, the word. Sri Ram Nama Uchar Mana. Or else, Aage Jamadal Bikham Gana. Or else, the unforgiving and uninterrupted force of death awaits you. Unforgiving, Bikham. Gana, uninterrupted. Dal, force, a power. What the Guru is reminding us here is that death awaits us at every instant. It is uninterrupted. It is dense and powerful. It is unforgiving. In other words, no one is going to escape death. And Sri Ramanama Ucharamana, therefore, Sri Ramanama Ucharamana. Now, virtually all of the English translations that I know of have rendered Uchar in its colloquial sense as either utter, speak, remember, articulate, or repetition. Uchar, Ramanama meaning in the name of the Lord. This is what you find. So we need to be careful. We need to avoid these superficial traps. Always keep in mind the context of Gurmat. Because if you concede that Ramanama Ucharamana simply means repeating a name or a mantra over and over again, then you run afoul of the very frame of reference of Gurmat, because it is very clear that there is not a prescriptive recommendation at all. In fact, Gurmat goes so far to say that in itself, such repetition doesn't really mean anything. So the word Uchar has to be examined. Ram, of course, we know is symbolic of the self. Sri is the splendorous self, the shining self. Nama, knowledge. Knowledge of the self. Uchar. U-char. U is up. Raise it. Raise within yourself knowledge of the self. Sri Ramanama Ucharamana. So therefore the answer to the question that was posed in the previous verse, how? Kis aage kari pukar jana? What is the solution to the fact that I am being assaulted from all sides by the Panch? Here again, translations have rendered Panch as 5. But you have to remember that Panch also means supreme. It also means the powerful. It also means... So here it is being used in terms of the powerful senses and their relation to the external stimulus. Not just 5. In fact, it is doubtful that Panch is 5. So we get the sense to protect the mind and the senses from the assault of temptations and desire, which is what fuels the world. We have to bring forth from within us Ramanama, the knowledge of the self that is innate to us, or else death awaits us at every turn. And then he explains himself further, the Guru. Usare madoli rakhe dwara pitar baithi sadhana. So the mud house, Usare, was built. Usar is to build. Madoli is a mud house with doors, rakhe dwara. This is referring to the body and its senses that are perforations, if you will, like the perforations of the ear, the nose, the anus, the urethra, and so on, through which engagement with the external world is carried out. Amrit keel kare nit kaman avar loote so panch jana. So within the mud house, meaning the body and the senses, there is the immortal one who is playing a game, frolicking, keel kare. means to frolic, to make merry. And that is expressed as desire. It tempts the senses and then robs the individual. Lute, so panchajana. This is the kind of game that is going on. So within the mud house of the body, with its sensory openings, sits the treasure of the self, which has to be retrieved, so to speak. And desire is the endless fuel of the game of life. And the senses succumb to temptation again and again. And in such a way, they are robbed of their vitality. That's the game that is going on. The word sadhana requires a little bit of attention. It's not clear whether this is meant to be one word, sadhana, or two, as in sadhana, because it appears in both forms. But commonly, sadhana is used for spiritual practice, but it has more than just that connotation. It can also mean sadhan, that treasure. It is also a metaphor for the feminine principle, tan, a word which is also used for wife, spouse. Sadhan can also mean the aim, kisi cheez nu sadhana, perfecting something. All of these shades have been very beautifully woven into this passage, into this word here. Something to really marvel at, the beauty with which Guru Nanak has actually used this word. Dahe maroli, lutya dehuri, sadhan pakadi ek jana, jam danda gal sangal padya bhag gaye se panch jana. Now what happens at death? When the mud house crumbles, dahe maroli, and the indweller is deprived, lutya dehuri, the individual self is caught alone, the jeev. Sadhana pakadi ek jana, the jan. Jam danda gal sangal padya, the staff. Danda, stick, the staff. Jam danda, death, the stick of death strikes. And the noose of reckoning is tightened around one's neck. This is all metaphorical. Accountability. What is being said is that when death ravishes the body, the indulgent senses flee, they dissipate, they depart. The indwelling self has to face a reckoning. And in conclusion, Kamana lode soina rupa, mitra loden so kha datta. Nanak paap kare tin karan jasi jampur badata. This is a warning. To sin for satisfying the passion for gold and silver, that is material goods, metaphor, and the associated desire for consumption, mitra lord and so kadata, will tie you to the city of justice. In other words, you have to pay a price for being a consumer. So to satisfy one's desires beyond a point is a sin. And we have to determine that point of moderation. Sin is simply being immoderate or indulgent. And when you're indulgent, there are consequences and a price to pay. On that note, until the next time, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.